Welcome to
Theories
of the third kind.
Welcome to Theories of the Third Kind. My name is Aaron. The other host joining me today is Danielson.
Hello.
Now, before we start today's episode, we do have a couple of announcements to make.
If you would like to support the show, you could do so by joining our premium subscription service, Supercast. For $6.66 a month, you can get weekly audio episodes that are all ad-free and have access to our entire back catalog also that are all ad-free.
Of over 260 plus premium episodes. Also, if you are a big baller, shot caller, you ride on 20-inch blades like little Troy, you can sign up to our premium video service, which gets you access to the premium videos for only $9.99 a month. To get access to that, just go to our website, theoriesofthethirdkind.com. Click on the Supercast button right in the middle, and it will take you there, and it's very easy to sign up. Takes you less than 30 seconds.
And if you're listening to this on Spotify, it should be listed on Spotify to where you can click it now on there.
Dang, technology.
But we know things are tough out there right now, so if you can't afford a premium membership, but you still want to help us out, you can do so by leaving us a written review on Spotify or iTunes.
That helps us out a lot.
However, though, don't feel pressure to. If you don't want to, that's fine. We just want you guys, girls, aliens, reptilians, Bigfoot, Sasquatches, chupacabras, ghosts, Illuminati members, underground lizard people, whoever or whatever you are, to enjoy the show. Oh, I almost messed up.
Nice golf clap for you.
Yeah. Also, remember, our content is entirely human-made. No AI was harmed or used in the process other than partially used for the graphic to get the base layer.
And that is the end of our announcements. All right. So today's episode is called Bombing of the Rainbow Warrior. I know. It is a story that is not what you think.
Mm-hmm.
It's about corruption and probably one of the biggest cover-ups that you have never heard about.
I've never heard of the Rainbow Warrior.
No, well, you're going to today.
Unless that's Captain Planet. Would he be considered the Rainbow Warrior? I mean,
Technically, kind of.
yeah, technically.
Anyway, for us to start off today's entire episode, we first need to talk about what Greenpeace is. And for us to do that, I need you all to sit back and close your eyes.
Now, I want you to imagine this. It's 1969, and the United States government announces plans to detonate a massive nuclear bomb underground on a tiny Alaskan island called Amchitka. Now, this place isn't just some barren rock island. In the middle of nowhere, it's part of what is called the Ring of Fire, which is prone to earthquakes. Also, it's home to endangered sea otters, bald eagles, and other wildlife.
And we have a photograph of the location of this island right there for everyone's viewing pleasure.
I've never noticed the islands curve like that.
Neither have I. Mandela effect. We're in another universe.
I don't ever remember the islands being like that.
No. If you or a loved one don't remember it either, comment down below and let us know.
It's very interesting, actually.
All right. So let's continue on with these islands. So that nuclear testing was going to happen on that island. And a small group of activists located in Vancouver, Canada, heard about it. These activists were Bob Hunter, who was a journalist, Irving Stowe, who was a lawyer, his wife Dorothy, who was an environmentalist, and Jim Bolin, who was an engineer.
Now, like we said earlier, all of them heard about this nuclear testing that was about to take place, and they were like,
Fuck that. We've got to do something about this.
so the crew got together and started brainstorming ideas. And then someone suggested protesting outside of a government building, but everyone was like,
No. Look, we have to do something more drastic.
that is when someone suggested,
Hey, I have an idea. Let's get an old fishing boat and sail that bitch right into the middle of the nuclear testing zone. They won't set off the nuclear bomb with us there, right?
and for some odd reason, everyone agreed and thought this was the greatest idea ever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Also, during this meeting, Irving, the lawyer, he shouted that they should officially form a group with a mission so that when they get the world's attention for doing this, everyone can know their purpose. That is also when Irving suggested the name Greenpeace, a mission to save the environment and oppose violence. And the name stuck.
So after that, the crew gathered up some funds, purchased a rickety old fishing boat named Phyllis Cormac. I would have never bought a boat named that. Anyways, on September 15th, 1971, the crew all got onto the boat and began making their way towards the islands. Or island. However, the journey didn't go as planned.
On their way towards the Amchitka Island, the Coast Guard intercepted them before they could get there. And the bomb still exploded, the nuclear bomb. But it was that voyage that sparked something bigger.
Newspapers across North America talked about their story. Donations started pouring in from all over the world. People suddenly cared about a remote island and the dangers of nuclear testing. And guess what? The U.S. decided to cancel all future tests at Amchitka just a year later, and the islands then became a bird sanctuary. Cool.
However, what most people don't talk about is that even though the United States canceled all future tests, they still conducted 3 massive underground nuclear tests at the island on 1965, 1969, and 1971. The largest nuclear bomb that exploded there was 400 times larger than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima during World War II. 400 times larger. That's a big bitch.
That's big.
That's what she said.
All right, so after that, the group Greenpeace did not stop. They began taking on whaling ships, trying to stop them. They confronted seal hunters, and eventually grew into a global movement fighting climate change, deforestation, and plastic pollution. But it all started with an old fishing boat, a bomb, and a handful of people who decided to take action.
All right, so that is how Greenpeace was created, the short version of it. And let's get into discussing the Rainbow Warrior. So the Rainbow Warrior is not some gay superhero. It is the name of a boat. Now, originally, this boat was a UK fishing trawler that was built back in 1955. Now, fishing trawlers are the boats that pull big nets behind them through the water and then bring them in.
Like shrimping boats?
Yeah.
Okay. So in 1977, Greenpeace ended up purchasing this boat, refitting it as a protest vessel, and named it the Rainbow Warrior. Now, why did they choose the name Rainbow Warrior? Well, there is a prophecy within the North American indigenous people that states, when the earth is sick, the people will rise up like warriors of the rainbow.
When the earth is sick. Oh, that sounds more Japanese.
It does. How?
How?
When the earth is sick, the people will rise like warriors of the rainbow.
I'm going to use that.
No offense.
He did it as accurately as he could. His 8% Cherokee came out.
I can't do a British accent. I can't do Australian, French. I can't do any of those.
We use you for indigenous accents.
Indigenous and Asian.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. So this boat was quickly put to use. It was active in supporting several anti-whaling, anti-sea hunting, and anti-nuclear testing / anti-nuclear waste dumping campaigns during the late 1970s and early 1980s. They were just out there dumping nuclear waste in the ocean. They had a quote or a motto. What is it?
The submarines?
The solution to pollution is dilution. And they just dump their waste overboard.
I mean, technically a little bit, but no, not really. So we're going to change gears real quick and talk about some nuclear testing, and since it plays a major role in this entire story. So there is a chain of 61 small islands in the Pacific Ocean called the Rongelap Atoll, which is part of the Marshall Islands, which we have talked about before. This atoll has a total land area of 8 square miles. It encloses a lagoon with an area of 1,000 square miles.
From 1946 to 1958, the United States military conducted numerous atmospheric nuclear tests, including hydrogen bomb tests primarily at Bikini Atoll, which is about 75 miles from Rongelap Atoll. The government didn't think that the bomb would affect the residents at Rongelap, so they told them, hey, these bombs 75 miles away ain't gonna mess with you. You guys are fine. Listen, just stay there on your island. Everything's gonna be okay.
Boy, were they wrong.
They were very wrong.
However, on March 1st, 1954, the testing of Castle Bravo hydrogen device produced an explosion that was 2.5 times more powerful than predicted and produced unexpected amounts of fallout that resulted in widespread radioactive contamination. The mushroom cloud contaminated more than 7,000 square miles of the surrounding Pacific Ocean, including some of the surrounding islands. Oh, that's a big oof.
Yeah. Irradiated debris fell up to 2 centimeters deep over the island, and a United States military medical team visited the island with Geiger counters the day after the fallout. And then they ended up leaving without telling the islanders the dangers that they had been exposed to. And this is Rongelap, 75 miles from the explosion. The United States military sent those people there. They got their Geiger counters out and tick, 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 tick. And then they're
that's
like,
kind of how it sounds.
ugh. Okay, see you later. They left. It's like, what the fuck?
So after the fallout, all the inhabitants began experiencing severe radiation sickness, including itchiness, sore skin, vomiting, diarrhea, and fatigue. Their symptoms also included burning eyes and swelling of the neck, arms, and legs. That to me sounds like diabetes.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. They all got super bad radiation poisoning, and they were forced to abandon the island, leaving all of their belongings 3 days after the test. So they were there for 3 full days after the test. Now, 6 days after the Castle Bravo test, the United States government set up a secret project to study the medical effects of weapons on the residents of the Marshall Islands. So they set up this secret program to be like, hey, let's secretly study the effects of radiation fallout on these islanders and not tell them about it. Yeah.
Planned, what is it called?
Guinea pigs.
Yeah, guinea pigs, but it's like they didn't plan for it, but then it's like
take advantage of the situation.
Like, this is a good opportunity.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
But 3 years later, in 1957, the United States government declared the area was clean and safe and allowed the islanders to return, though they were told to stick to canned foods and avoid the northern part of the atoll.
It reminds me of the hotel I went to where they were siphoning water out of the pool and putting it in the lines. Yeah, you can look, the water's good, but you can't drink it, and you can shower with it, but be very quick. And I'm like, huh? What?
That's so weird. But yes, the U.S. scientists noted that the habitation of these people on the island will afford most valuable ecological radiation data on human beings. Should have just said guinea pigs.
Yeah. Now, contrary to the United States government's assurances of there not being any more contamination and that the island was safe, aka the government was like, look, it's been years. You guys can go back to your island. Everything's fine. Contamination is not going to mess with you. You just keep on living your life. Just stick to canned food and don't go to the northern part. You should be okay.
Don't eat the sea life.
Yeah. Well, they were wrong because many of the residents began developing thyroid tumors and many of the children died of leukemia. Rates of miscarriages and stillbirths on the island were twice the rate of unexposed women in the other Marshall Islands.
The magistrate of Rongelap, John Jane, whose own son died of leukemia, appealed for international help, and no one cared.
Yeah, nobody cared.
Nope.
Nobody responded. They were like, meh.
You're on that island. We know what's going on. Yeah. Then finally, in 1984, Marshall Islands senator approached the environmental group Greenpeace to seek their help in relocating the people of Rongelap to a safer area away from the contaminated islands. Greenpeace agreed to help, and in 1985, Operation Exodus took place.
So they were there from 1957 all the way until 1986. That is when the government was like, okay, it might not really be safe for you guys to stay here. Let's go ahead and get you out of there. But we won't provide any boats. We're going to get Greenpeace to do it.
The government didn't really say that it was bad. It was just...
Yeah. So it took them 3 trips. The Rainbow Warrior ship moved approximately 350 people and 100 metric tons of building material 110 miles away to another nearby atoll. The operation took 10 days, moving everyone from 80-year-olds to newborns, as well as their homes and belongings, all to this new area. It was all just stacked in the Rainbow Warrior ship.
That's really not that bad.
No.
So it was during this period, though, when Greenpeace saw the direct consequences of nuclear testing, that they began taking an interest in stopping any other country from doing it anymore. After moving those people from Rongelap Atoll to the nearby one, Greenpeace heard that France was planning on doing some nuclear testing on a nearby atoll named Mururoa.
The Rainbow Warrior decided, hey, we're going to stop those motherfuckers. So they traveled to New Zealand to lead other boats who were planning to protest the French nuclear testing at this other atoll. Also, not only did Greenpeace want to protest it, but they also wanted to monitor the impact of the nuclear test and actually place some of their protesters onto the island to monitor the blast. Yeah, they wanted to place people on it. Not a good idea.
Bane telling his men, just, we need bodies here to show that we were here, so you die with the plane.
Oh, man.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
All right. So we fast forward to July 10th, 1985. On this day, the Rainbow Warrior was moored in Auckland Harbor, New Zealand, preparing for its campaign to protest the French nuclear test.
Around 11:38 p.m. that night, an explosion tore a hole the size of a car through the Rainbow Warrior's engine room. Crew members rushed to evacuate the ship, believing it was an accident. You know, something must have blew up in the engine room. And we're taking on water now, bitch. Let's get off.
A few minutes later, some of the crew returned to the ship to investigate and film the damage. Portuguese-Dutch photographer Fernando Pereira returned below deck of the ship to fetch his camera equipment.
At 11:45 p.m., a second bomb went off near the propeller of the ship. The ship immediately began taking on large amounts of water, and 4 minutes later, it sank. All the crew members, except Fernando, the photographer, were able to escape. And unfortunately, Fernando Pereira drowned in the rapid flooding. And we do have a photograph of the ship sinking right there.
All right, so after the bombing, the New Zealand police started one of the country's largest police investigations. A lot of people automatically assumed it was the French government. However, France, being an ally of New Zealand, initially denied involvement and joined in condemning what is described as a terrorist act.
Yeah, the French embassy denied involvement, stating that the French government does not deal with its opponents in such a way. Look, we knew they were going to go protest our nuclear testing, but we don't deal with people who do protesting like this. We don't directly attack them. We would never do something like this. However, investigations quickly revealed that the blasts were deliberate.
The New Zealand police identified limpet mines, military-grade explosives attached to the hull.
Now, limpet mines are mines that they're about this size, they're about that big, and they attach to things.
So it's like a landmine, but
it attaches, and it has a timer on it.
I'm no military person. I'm just thinking of what it kind of looked like.
Yeah, it looked just like a normal mine, and it has 3-pronged feet on it and a timer.
Now, the police did also identify 2 individuals who were French foreign intelligence agents as possible suspects. But what unfolded next became a huge deal.
What the New Zealand police figured out is that 3 foreign French intelligence agents used a yacht to import the mines that were used for the bombing. 2 more French intelligence agents who posed as a newlywed couple and used a Swiss passport to get into New Zealand, picked up the mines and delivered them to a bombing team.
The bombing team consisted of 2 French divers who gathered the mines up, dove down, and attached them to the Rainbow Warrior ship. Once it was realized that the bombing was the action of the government of a friendly state, the New Zealand government stopped referring to it as a terrorist act, instead calling it a criminal attack in breach of the international law of state responsibility committed on New Zealand sovereign territory.
Which that's correct.
Damn.
Yeah. Only 2 of the French intelligence agents were captured and arrested. The others, including one of the bombers, had posed as tourists. They took a ferry to the South Island, went skiing at a nearby mountain, and then left the country using false documents about 10 days later. Another agent, possibly the commander of the operation, was also never captured. So only 2 of them were captured.
Damn. Now, France did launch their own commission of inquiry, which declared the French government innocent of any involvement in the terrorist act, claiming that the arrested agents, who had not yet pleaded guilty, had merely been spying on Greenpeace. The 2 French intelligence agents who were arrested pleaded guilty to manslaughter and were sentenced to 10 years imprisonment.
France told New Zealand, hey, we seen that you arrested 2 of our intelligence agents and sentenced them to 10 years. You need to release the pair. If you don't release them, then we're going to put an economic embargo on New Zealand's exports to the European Economic Community if you don't release them. Now, this action, if they would have really done this, it would have crippled the New Zealand economy, would have crippled it, which was dependent on agricultural exports to the United Kingdom. Kind of fucked up.
That is fucked up. New Zealand, though, was like, I thought y'all, aka the French government, didn't have a hand in this shit.
That's a correct response. That's a correct response, you know?
Yeah, and following that, on September 22nd, 1985, France's prime minister told journalists to come to his office so that he could read a 200-word statement.
In this statement, the prime minister of France admitted that the bombing had been a French plot. He said, "The truth is cruel," and acknowledged there had been a cover-up. He went on to say that agents of the French Secret Service sank this boat and they were acting on orders.
Shortly after that, New Zealand transferred the 2 agents to France, where they were released and returned back to duty. France just admitted that they did do it. It was a plot to blow up this boat.
New Zealand was like, oh, okay, look, you admitted it. We're going to release the 2 guys. Or the 2 people.
I don't know who's dumber. This tragedy and cover-up only made Greenpeace's global profile to soar. A new Rainbow Warrior was launched in 1989, and it continued its legacy. Also, France continued to conduct nuclear tests in the Pacific in 1996 until it finally stopped due to global outrage.
And we have a photograph of the new Rainbow Warrior.
Oh,
there you go.
That one's way bigger.
That's what she said.
Oh, it is prettier.
Yeah, I like the painting on it.
I like the green.
All right. So that is the story of the bombing of the Rainbow Warrior. However, just like every week, our episode does not stop there, because now we are going to get into the strange facts and findings that we uncovered while researching this episode. So Dan, tell us about our first strange fact and finding.
All right, so our first strange fact and finding is about a declassified document. So declassified documents were released about the bombing of the Rainbow Warrior, and in these documents it stated that the president of France, Francois Mitterrand, had approved the operation.
Now, some individuals argue that the bombing was not supposed to be as big as it was, that instead the president ordered them just to, plant a smaller bomb, just one of them. And instead, the intelligence officers wanted the president out of the office. So they kind of overdid it. They planted multiple bombs, knowing that, hey, we're going to get caught either way, and it would create a scandal, and the president would have to leave the office. However, that's just a theory, and we're going to save that for our theory section. But I just wanted to kind of mention it.
It almost sounded like it was like an unsanctioned mission. Yeah, it's like, you're going to do this. If you get caught, we didn't send you. I mean, we won't save you, but then again, they did.
You're going to learn one of our strange facts and findings is called Amateur Hour, and how freaking stupid they were in covering their tracks.
All right, so our next strange fact and finding, though, is called the third bomb. So during the explosions, some crew members reported hearing a third explosion, and it was reported to the investigators, but no evidence was found of a third bomb.
Now, to add to this strange fact and finding is that witnesses did report that a second French intelligence team was in New Zealand at this time. Also, a French journalist claimed in 2015 that a third pair of divers planted a third bomb. But again, there was no evidence really to back this claim up other than, he said, she said, and anonymous sources type of stuff. I heard it from this anonymous source.
I wonder where they would have planted the third bomb then. So they did it underneath the hull, then they did it at the propeller.
The other side of the hole?
Yeah, that's what I would
Yeah.
assume. It probably was supposed to go off with the first one, but didn't. So it's like, we'll get the propeller too. All right. Now, our next strange fact and finding is called delayed accountability. Now, we know that the Prime Minister of France had made a speech to journalists, a 200-word statement, taking accountability for the bombing. Then in 1987, France ended up paying $8.6 million in reparations. However, they never issued a formal apology until 2007. Also, despite being convicted and spending almost 2 years in New Zealand's prison and planting the bombs, the two French agents received French... Did they really?
Yeah, they did. They received military honors for their mission. I swear. It's messed up, isn't it?
It's so messed up. It's like, how... Man.
Yeah.
Fucking French.
All right, so let's talk about our last strange fact and finding, which is called amateur hour. So there were a lot of things that the French intelligence officers did during this mission that was sloppy. For example, the French agents rented a van that traced back to the French embassy in New Zealand due to its license plate. So they flew in, went to the embassy of New Zealand, rented a van that traced back to the French embassy to travel.
My gosh. Also, one of the agent's passport photos was overexposed, making her resemble a cartoon villain and clearly identifiable as being fake. And we have that picture right here. And she does look like a cartoon villain.
Yeah. And she ended up returning back to France. And why don't you tell everybody what job she got after that?
Well, this cartoon villain agent ended up getting a job at a fire brigade as the director of human resources.
Director of HR. It's comedic. It's crazy.
It's like they all just been rewarded.
Yeah.
They killed how many people?
One person.
One?
It was one that Francisco Pereira.
Oh, but he pretty much drowned. So he died
due to the bombing.
Due to the bombings.
Yeah. All right. So that right there was our last strange fact and finding. And now we are going to get into the theories surrounding this topic. So the first theory that we have is called they did it. This theory pretty much states that there is no theory about this story. What is being told is the truth. It was a covert operation led by French intelligence officers and approved by the French government. However, they were caught and finally fessed up. Now, the true question is why? Why did they do it? And this is where the theories come into play. The first one is called nuclear contamination cover-up. This one states that speculation persists that France targeted the Rainbow Warrior ship to conceal illegal or dangerous nuclear testing practices, such as radioactive leakage at the islands. Greenpeace's investigations might have threatened to expose environmental violations, and Greenpeace members have questioned whether, Francisco Pereira's death was intentional, given his role in documenting nuclear protests. So this one states, why did they do it? Well, they were covering their tracks, France was, because they were setting off these nuclear bombs and exposing a lot of people to radiation/contamination.
They didn't want Greenpeace members to find out that and then tell the whole world.
Yeah, because Pereira was on the boat and going out with them to specifically write up a large hit piece on the French government. Yeah. The next theory as to why they did it is called long-term political diversion. Some argue that the bombing was timed perfectly to divert public attention away from domestic French scandals or the president's declining popularity, but there's, been no direct link to kind of like prove this, unlike the declassified documents that proved that it was ordered. There was no like real specific reason why it was ordered. Hey, we need to cover up my scandals and stuff, get everybody to divert their attention away.
Does France have a prime minister and a president?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are the first two as to why. So why don't you tell us about our next theory, Dan?
All right, so our next theory is called staged. This theory claims that the bombing was staged by a third party, such as another government or anti nuclear group, in order to frame France. However, overwhelming evidence, including confessions, agents' arrests, and declassified documents, point to this theory as not really holding any water. Like the Rainbow Warrior.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
God.
Sorry.
I tossed that ball up so you could smack it, and you did a great job.
I mean,
makes sense.
It makes sense. But I don't. Not really a third party. It was staged, but not by a third party.
Yeah.
It was France.
I agree.
I mean, shit. They got the intelligence officers, they all got rewarded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about this next theory, which is called agent betrayal or rogue operation. This theory claims that the DGSE team, aka the French intelligence agents, they acted beyond their orders, using excessive force without higher approval. However, the mission's complexity, forged passports, yacht logistics, bringing in the mine, all that stuff, suggests that they just, followed orders and didn't really stray away from the original operations plans, except for maybe when they planted the mine. Maybe they were only supposed to plant one instead of two, and they decided, let's go ahead and plant both. So there's that theory that they kind of did it excessively as a way to frame or get the president out of the office.
And it was supposed to be a smaller blast, or explosion, not as big as they thought it would be.
Yeah. And no one was supposed to die, supposedly. But there is the theory that they did it and was hoping to get rid of Pereira.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it wasn't just the Rainbow Warrior that was there. There were other protesting ships too.
Mm-hmm.
So
they were all getting ready.
So if they were actually trying to stop
the entire protest operation,
they would have attacked more than one ship. But the fact that they only targeted the Rainbow Warrior.
Yeah.
So that did sound like a targeted attack. Okay. They did use excessive force though.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if it could have been an agent betrayal, they wanted to take out Pereira, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they weren't supposed to, but they did.
Yep. All right. So why don't you tell us about this last theory, Dan?
All right. So this last theory is called allowed. This theory claims that Greenpeace knew this was going to happen and allowed it to as a way to get more publicity. There are no facts to back this up, and it's pure speculation.
I don't think this one holds any water.
How much insurance did they get? I mean, they got a way bigger ship.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying, it's speculation, but
okay.
We have to look at this because they had this old rickety ship, and then after this happened, they have this big ship now. I mean, it's a really nice ship.
Oof. You're claiming that Greenpeace knew and allowed it so that they could collect insurance money and get a bigger ship?
And Pereira was not actually part of Greenpeace. He was just a journalist, so it's not any of their people. And if he did, considering he did die, that does help them in a way. Look, they're trying to stop the truth from coming out. And then, of course, more people will donate. Oh, shit, they are. Greenpeace ends up getting a bigger ship. Now they can actually travel even further, go everywhere.
And they become more global because more media attention.
Yes. Not saying that that's exactly what happened, but it's a possibility.
All right. So now we are going to get into our own personal thoughts and theories. And I'm going to ask you, Dan, do you think there are any theories surrounding this operation that hold any weight, as in the ones that we just discussed? Or do you think it was just a normal operation and everything went as planned and it was kind of, went to plan as in the blowing up and everything, but they didn't mean for the photographer to die, and then they didn't mean for them to get found out?
So I had just watched the movie, was it The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
Sounds like a boring ass movie.
It has
What year was it released?
Last year.
Oh,
It has
okay.
Henry Cavill, Alan Richardson. It has big actors in it, and pretty much it's the British doing unsanctioned missions during the war to stop the Nazi U-boats.
Oh, okay.
And they're just like, if you get caught, you're caught. We did not sanction this mission or anything. You're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, they were planting bombs and stuff, but then they found out the U-boat or the supply ship was reinforced with more steel, so it couldn't blow it up. But it almost makes me think it's just like that. They had sanctioned, or they had given this mission, but it was unsanctioned. Like, if you get caught, we're not going to save you and all that. And let's say that the prime minister knew about it. The president didn't. Because, I mean, that's how it usually works. Like, you go do this, we're not going to tell nobody. That's why they were denying it at first. But then the president ended up giving a 200-word statement saying, yes, we did it. The truth is
the prime minister did.
Thought it was the president.
Who gave the 200-word statement? Let's look at it. Yeah, the prime minister.
Oh, prime minister did?
Mm-hmm. Gave the 200-word statement, acknowledging it.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So the president, say the prime minister didn't know, president knew. So switch them around.
Yeah, it was switched around because in the declassified documents, the president is the one who directed the order. He's the one who approved it.
All right. So, yeah, switch them around. President knew, prime minister didn't. That's why the prime minister ended up like, hey, we did it. The truth is cruel. Yada, yada, yada. But can you let our people go? Oh.
Yeah, they're like, oh.
Let our people go.
No,
yeah,
man.
And then, of course, they get rewarded. So it was definitely staged, I guess. Not staged, but
planned.
It was planned by the French government. Certain parts of the government knew about it. So it's almost like unsanctioned, but then again, it wasn't, or it was. And they ended up taking credit, the accountability for it. But I almost feel like, I hate to say it, Greenpeace may have known about it and just let it happen too. The whole insurance thing and the whole getting a new boat and all that, I don't know. It sounds shitty, but.
For the record, I do not believe that. But that's just Dan's opinion, and he's entitled to his own opinion.
I'm just going by what is on, like, the research and all that, and just the possibilities.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, what
you're entitled.
They could have got Fernando out of the boat in time, maybe.
No. He went in there to get his camera equipment, and then it sank, and everybody else was getting out. They didn't even know he was really inside there.
It's not that big of a boat. I'm sorry.
It's pretty big. It's pretty big.
Not as big as the one they got now. Now,
Yeah.
I can understand if the boat they have now, this happened, and they didn't know he was in there. This boat, they would have known somebody was in there.
You think Greenpeace like locked him in his room? Okay, we got to make a sacrifice for bigger attention.
It's more so like they didn't want him to, like, this to happen to him. They just more so just like
took advantage of the situation.
No, Greenpeace just kind of ignored, like, oh, we got to get our asses out of this boat. And Fernando's like, I got to get my camera equipment. No, don't go in there. I got to go get it. Fine, it's on you. So pretty much just let it happen.
Damn. I would have gotten my camera equipment or our camera equipment.
I would have too.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Expensive. Yeah, that shit's expensive.
I mean, and of course, his shit is probably more expensive considering it's probably, DSLR cameras and all that shit.
Yeah.
And the lenses, that's the most expensive part is the lenses. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's true. It's just, it's something to think about though.
So what I believe is that I think it was planned. It was supposed to be a covert mission, just like how everything was unveiled, just like how everything was uncovered. There's no real theory behind it. The French government tried to stop Greenpeace. They fucked up and they tried to hide it, and New Zealand uncovered it, and the French owned up to it, kinda. And
I mean, it took them a while.
It's just a good story about corruption and government cover-ups and what they will do to stop people from doing things. So yeah, that's what I believe. It's a fucked up story, but everyone should hear it.
And that's the only reason why I'm saying, like, Greenpeace may have benefited from this. It's just because of corruption.
Yeah.
I mean, you just think about all the corruption in the world. who's to say that they didn't do a little corruption to help get themselves ahead to, gain more traction? Which, I mean, it did.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
Just speculation, though.
Well, if you or a loved one have had your boat sank by a government body, please comment down below and let us know. We would love to hear how that went for you.
Doesn't the people in like the Greenpeace boats and all that, don't they like ram into other like ships and stuff?
I don't know. Is the Sea Shepherd connected with Greenpeace? Let's look that up. Because that's like the one popular one, the Sea Shepherd. Because I remember watching the TV show back in the day of the Sea Shepherd running into the whaling boat ships.
Vessel Sea Shepherd, Greenpeace.
Greenpeace? Okay.
So they do.
They were running into the Misharadu or some whaling boat named that. They did some crazy shit on the Sea Shepherd. They would take like those things and throw them onto the whaling boats.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of extreme.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like they do kind of go extreme, it seems. But see,
well, they're just matching the freak of the United States, or not the United States, but other governments.
Are they part of the? They might not. Oh wait, 2007. Greenpeace denounces Sea Shepherd Society.
Oh shit.
Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. So, I guess they're different.
Oh, okay.
My mistake. They seem like different entities, but they did work together. Here we go. December 26, 2022. What is the difference between Greenpeace and the Sea Shepherd Society? They used to be the same thing. The Sea Shepherd Conservation Society broke off from Greenpeace when they kicked Paul Watson out for not strictly following their guideline standards of nonviolence. Pat Watson believes that property destruction is a form of nonviolence, but Greenpeace does not. So, okay. So the Sea Shepherd was part of the Greenpeace, but when the Sea Shepherd started doing violent shit, destroying property and all that, Greenpeace is like, that's not how we do things. And Pat Watson's over there like, the fuck we do?
Yeah,
destroy it.
I'm going to ram this fucking boat into the whaling ship's ass.
Yeah, so they used to do that shit.
Yeah. Damn, man. Well.
So Greenpeace, friendlier. Sea Shepherd, fuck you. Yeah. That's how it is.
All right. Well, that is today's episode over the bombing of the Rainbow Warrior. I hope you all enjoyed it and you are educated.
I honestly never heard of the Rainbow Warrior at all. So wouldn't they usually name it like the Rainbow Warrior 2? Or
that's what it should have been named, the new ship.
Yeah, you don't name it the same exact name as the
other one.
Yeah, you never do that with ships. That's like bad luck.
It is. Davy Jones is going to come collect. Anyway, well, that is the end of today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. And again, we all love you and we are proud of you. And we hope you have a great weekend. And do you have anything else you would like to add?
No, I don't have anything else to add. Honestly, at first when I heard the name, I was like, Yeah. Because we had a different topic for regular. What was it? What did we pick first?
We were going to go with the pyramids, and then we were like, meh. And then we were going to go with something else. I can't even remember what it was.
I can't remember what it was. Like, because
I was like, nope, not going to do it. Going to do the bombing of the Rainbow Warrior. Almost said Siege. Got that game stuck in my head.
Siege?
Hero Siege.
Oh, Hero Siege. That's a fun game.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for your support. Without you, we could not do this.
That's right.
But with that being said, Dan, do you want to roll us out?
Sure will. It's okay to be out of this world with your thoughts.
Because you are not alone.